make it a priority as much as you do with all the other priorities that you see in your life, your family, your career, your faith. Fitness is always the thing that we use the obstacles, our excuses, because we think fitness is what we're going to get to later. So trying to kind of rewire our brains and more think of fitness as something that we can do right now. And just like all the other priorities in life, when one gets better, all of them get better.
Man of Mastery, episode 68, Beat Your Excuses with Chad Austin. First of all, welcome back and thank you for being here. I super value and appreciate your time. It means a tremendous amount. And as always, again, I love hearing from listeners, feedback, even just connecting. So feel free to reach out. Before we jump in with today's guest, Chad Austin, just two more quick things that I'd like to offer and to ask. One is recently I've come across several people who were endeavoring to create their own podcast, or maybe they recently launched, or they're in the process or thinking about it. I would 100% encourage somebody to do that. It is a challenge. It's a rewarding experience. It's an amazing networking opportunity. It's a great way to get access to and meet and learn from people that you probably otherwise wouldn't. It's an incredible journey, and for anybody who has an idea or a passion or even just a thought about doing it, go for it. Absolutely go for it. And if I can be of any help, one thing I would offer is equipment, software, hardware. How do you kind of do it? That's one thing that's a stumbling block if you want to create obstacles and excuses. That could be one. So let me remove that. If you want to go to the website, manofmastery.com, go to /podcast equipment. And I've got a list there of some stuff I use. Feel free to grab that and use it. If you need any help with it, you got questions, let me know. The second thing is, as we continue to grow the brand and the podcast and offerings and events and training and things like that around it, it's a really important time to stay in tune, either on social media or email. I save email for really kind of the big announcements, the most important things, the recent podcasts. I'm not going to hit you with a ton of email spam. So I'd also ask that you tune in and sign up via the email newsletter for all of that stuff. The place to do that, you can either go to the bio in Instagram and you'll find a link, or just go to the website directly. Again, manofmastery.com//take action. manofmastery.com/take action. Sign up for the email newsletter. And really, again, that's your way to stay in tune to the latest and greatest. All right, so on to today's podcast, Beat Your Excuses with Chad Austin. I would ask, as Chad does, what are your top priorities in life? Where do you prioritize your health? As the old saying goes, if you don't make time for wellness, you'll be forced to make time for illness. So we talk about, with Chad, mindset, attitude, gratitude. We talk about how to deal with excuses, how to eradicate them, how to rewire your thinking and set up a successful plan with a plan beyond the plan. So, as I've been saying this week, we're coming up on the end of the year. Don't make a New Year's resolution. Don't make a New Year's resolution until you check out Chad and make fitness a priority and this interview with Chad Austin, because he's got some really interesting things to say about what is sustainable health, what's sustainable fitness, how to think about it, how to approach it, versus the quick fix that you may leave behind in 21 days, 30 days, 1 week. The red flags of a quote unquote health plan that really aren't sustainable. So Chad's got some really interesting stuff going on. If you happen to be near Overland Park, Kansas, and if you're not, for everybody else, check out what Chad's got to say on this podcast. And then he's got 2 amazing books out that I've had a chance to read recently myself. Highly recommend it. Today's guest, Chad Austin. Record. All right, let's do this thing. Our guest today is Chad Austin. He's a personal trainer, speaker, owner of Priority Fitness in Overland Park, Kansas. And Chad is a multiple best-selling author. His latest book is Make Fitness a Priority: How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses. Chad, welcome.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I mean, excuses is certainly something we all struggle with. This whole idea of I just don't have time for, whether that's I was too busy with work. Hey, now it's COVID. In a way,
Mm,
we've all got plenty of time, or it's a brand new type of schedule, or oh well, maybe when I retire. And then I talk
yeah.
to people who've retired, and it's like, well, I still don't have time. So, yeah, maybe we start with a little bit of background and your new book, because I think we've all got excuses we need to fix.
Yeah. Well, I've been a personal trainer up here in Kansas City for about 15 years now. My gym is a personal training studio, Priority Fitness, and we're on our 5th year. And so Priority Fitness got its name because it was inspired by my book, Make Fitness a Priority. And Make Fitness a Priority, the movement, the message that we have is really it's been something that's developed as I've evolved as a personal trainer, but it's really geared towards getting long-term success. And so I think in the fitness industry, we are in a tough battle right now as fitness professionals because it's the fight is between our clients' desire for instant gratification, right, and our desire for them getting long-term success. And I think I eventually learned that way to do that is to make it a priority as much as you do with all the other priorities that you see in your life, your family, your career, your faith. Fitness is always the thing that we use the obstacles, our excuses, because we think fitness is what we're going to get to later. So trying to kind of rewire our brains and more think of fitness as something that we can do right now. And just like all the other priorities in life, when one gets better, all of them get better. So it's just making it a priority now and stop waiting kind of mindset is what we're all about.
Cool. Yeah, I can relate to that just from some of the stuff I've been in reorganizing my life the last couple years in particular. For whatever reason, we all have these physical goals like, oh, I got to lose weight. I want to look better. I want to feel better. But then we put it off. And when you do start to focus on it, you realize it's not at the cost of other things. It sort of
Mm.
sets up all those other things. I'm going to feel better mentally. I'm probably going to show up better in my relationships. Maybe I'm going to have a different presence at work. It really is a
Mhm.
launching point, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's one thing that we've had to learn too. I think for many years, I didn't understand that balance, and so the balance of making sure I have that my priorities, my faith, my relationships, my fitness, my career, that there's room for everything. But the only time there's not room for everything is when you're trying to fit something in your life that doesn't fit. And so that's why I always tell people what you do for fitness has the fit in your life. And so a lot of times when people say, I don't have time, our favorite excuse, I've learned that what they really mean when they say, I don't have time, is they're saying, I don't have time to work out like I used to. And so it doesn't mean you don't have time, but you may be trying to work out, but you may be remembering the best shape of your life when you were in your 20s and you had 2 hours of gym time 5 or 6 days a week, and then you just lived there, you were a gym rat. But it maybe doesn't make sense for you to try to force that in there. Priorities are going to suffer, but doing less doesn't mean that it's less of a priority. It just means you're figuring out how it fits in your life now.
Yeah, that's a great point. I would also argue that maybe how we thought about working out a couple decades ago, whether it's for our own body at that age versus now, or just, as we're learning about maybe functional fitness as we age, so there may be a better way to train now that may take less time.
Yeah, we're definitely I think we're definitely learning what's bad that there's more than one way, and that what was a good way for you before or what's good for someone else doesn't mean that there's no one size fits all when it comes to fitness. It's learning what's best for you.
That battle between instant gratification and long-term success, it shows up all over our lives, right?
Mhm.
I had a guest on not too long ago who he and his wife made it a priority, and they paid off their house, and that's just paying them back in so many ways. But that's not easy. They really had to work hard at that and create a new habit. And every decision was, do I do this for the long term or do I do this in short-term gratification? And we live in that sort of instant gratification world, social media, uh, buy this and you're going to feel better, this 21-day program or that 30-day program. And I know there's science to the how long does it take your brain to form a new habit. So, you know, as somebody setting people up for long-term success, how do you think about that when there are programs selling the 21-day fix, the 1-month fix? What's I know you mentioned red flags. What are some of the red flags in those things, and what is the foundation to enduring success?
Yeah, the reason I know about these red flags is unfortunately I've learned them the hard way myself, and so that's one of those things. I think you could probably relate to this. Is once you become a coach, you become a better athlete. It's like I feel that's how I feel in this chapter of my life as a fitness professional. But the red flags I've learned that are important. There's a couple of them. The first one is if the program begins with the end in mind. And so if it has a 21 day, if it's 21-day program or a 6-week challenge or a 12-week program, whatever it is, if you know on the first day when the last day is, then you're setting yourself up for failure. And so there's lots of ways around that, and it becomes with the one big way is always before your program that you're currently doing is over, make sure you take the time to ask yourself what's next. And so you have a plan for what's next. Even the best athletes in the world, they don't work as hard as they can year round. They have all these different seasons, but they never leave one season and go to the next one without knowing what's next. And so when it's just a 12-week program, I've gone several times where I've worked really hard and I've got such good results because I've been all in committed on this 12-week challenge or 6-week challenge. And the only way I've thought ahead is that I deserve a break. And I haven't really thought past that. And then if you're like that and you don't think much past that, then the only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to lose all your results because that break's going to be a long break. And so that's one red flag, is to make sure that it doesn't end with the end in mind. It didn't begin with the end in mind. So you don't know when the last day is on the first day. And the second part of it is like we said earlier, is that knowing that fitness is not one size fits all. So if the program that you're doing, if it's the exact same for you as it is for everybody else that does it, then you're setting yourself up for fail. If it's the same program, if everyone's doing the same thing, no matter what their fitness goals are, no matter what their fitness level is or what their schedule is like or anything like that, then it's not going to be long term, because basically that means it's designed with the idea of you're going to get as much results as possible in this small time frame. We're going to work you as hard as you can, but then when you're done, basically all that work is going to be done too, because it's not probably realistic. It may not fit in your life. Maybe it may be on the off chance it does. But that's when I kind of have this saying that's kind of fit along with me in training, is that what you're doing for fitness has to fit in your life. And so I also, one of my books I mentioned to you earlier is a 6-week workbook. And so I have 3 books in the Make Fitness Priority series. The second one is a 6-week workbook, but it came designed just because of these 2 red flags. And so the 6 weeks, it's a 6-week workbook, and I have a 6-week challenge that goes with it. But our goal is not for you to work as hard as possible in 6 weeks, and we're not trying to get you as much results as possible in 6 weeks. Our goal is that in 6 weeks, we figure out how fitness best fits in your life. And so that so it becomes the first 6 weeks of fitness being a priority in your life. And so,
I mean, same thing with nutrition programs, right? Not
mm,
it's keto, it's this or it's that, uh, carnivore code,
yeah.
paleo, vegan. I don't think there's, I get there are pros and cons and there are science, but it's hard to believe that one size fits all for anything, nutrition, fitness, and everybody's starting from where they are.
Yeah.
So, one person's workout may cripple somebody else or may feel like a warm up to, the next guy or gal. So how could one size fits all? It just doesn't make sense.
I feel like in fitness, especially in the nutrition aspect of it, but really in everything, it's just like anything else. There's no such thing as mastering it. We're still constantly learning and trying to do more. So to be able to say this is the right way to do, I mean, there's more than one right way, and just figuring out how's the best fit for you and understanding that there's really no norm for anything. I mean, that's one thing I think as trainers come and go here at the studio, and as I help them kind of become personal trainers, that's one important lesson I think it is that you have to learn if you're going to help a lot of people, is that what worked for one person is not going to work for everybody. It's just figuring out what's best fit for you.
That really resonates with me. I mean, I'm all about constant learning.
Mm,
And I know my wife loves to give me a hard time. Well, now you're eating this way because the latest science says X. It's like, yes, we're constantly learning and we're going to adjust course as we go. And we're going to try and we're going to see what works. and that
Hmm.
will change over time. That's nothing is static in life. And I look at that in nutrition. I look at that in fitness the same way. Um, what about, so when it comes to starting on something, where do you fall on sort of taking massive action? I'm not even sure these are discrete, but taking massive action or easing into something, incremental change. Maybe somebody who hasn't had any fitness regime for a while, or maybe somebody who has reached a plateau in the way they're training and wants to train for a new type of event or kind of reach the next level.
Hmm.
Is there, and again, maybe there's no one size fits all, but how do you think about
Yeah.
that?
I think that's another big thing to always keep in mind is no norm. And so for a lot of people, the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door, right? And so just coming in, and we have a community, we have a Make Fitness a Priority community that we built. And one thing we're really proud of is that it's a very welcoming environment, and there's no criteria, there's no prerequisite fitness level you need to be at. The only criteria is that you gotta have a desire to improve your quality of life through fitness, and that's it. And so I mean, we have all fitness levels that come, and all fitness levels that work out at the same time, the way we have it set up. But for some people, I think if you're some people can start in and do a lot more, and but I think for the most part, you have to be really careful. You want to make sure that you don't overwhelm yourself, because if you're trying to do too much at once, I believe in that saying, if you try to do too much at once, you end up doing nothing. And so our last book, the one we just published, that happened during COVID, actually it's a tip book. And so it's Make Fitness a Priority, but it's 30 tips to elevate your life through fitness. And the way that came about is we have a Saturday morning boot camp with our Make Fitness a Priority community. And a little while, about a year ago, I guess, a year and a half or so ago, we decided that we wanted to make it more than just a workout. And so halfway through the workout, we kind of have an intermission where me and my co-author of this last book, we provide a fitness tip. And so just a quick 3 to 5 minute tip that we give away. And we kind of keep accumulating them on our website. And we some of them are videos of us speaking, some of it are writing. But it's just the idea of it's just hopefully you have a takeaway. And so it's just an easy fitness tip, but if you keep coming back and you're a regular, then maybe every 3 or 4 times you have one that resonates with you, and it's something you take away and you use. And so it's one of those things that if you have one thing that you take away and you use, then the whole experience is worth it, right? And so our book is 30 tips, and our book is just, of all those tips we did in our first year doing it, we just picked our top 30, the ones we thought were the most important. Half of them from me and half of them from her. And the idea is just to go through the book and just do one tip a day, one tip a week, whatever pace you want to go on, but just trying to incorporate one thing at a time. And so, but that's a recipe for long-term success.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, and that's brilliant. Just I love the stop, take an intermission, uh,
Mm-hmm.
try to feed on something and see who it resonates with, and try to take something away and build on it. Also, the idea of a community, and I could see how that approach also helps foster the community, whether it's
Yeah.
through subsequent discussion or just, hey, how did that apply for you type of thing. Quick story, I did an event, a virtual event during COVID. It was a 24-hour, no, I'm sorry, 48-hour thing. And my family ended up doing it along with me, my wife and my son. And it was facilitated through 4-hour evolutions. So every 4 hours, we got on a virtual call with a group. So we came together as a community, and 48 hours later, we finished as a community. And every 4 hours, we were doing an hour of activity around the clock. So it was very much a keep it simple approach. And I remember my expectations going into it, and my mindset of sometimes I'm not real easy on myself, of kind of meet myself where I am, or somebody else as a peer, as a coaching client, as a friend. I remember the first kickoff to the first evolution. There was a competitive CrossFit athlete in there, as a friend of mine, another very fit gentleman that I know, and I was ready to like get after it. And one of those guys was like, "Hey, okay, first evolution, should I do a weighted ruck or a run?" And the facilitator goes like, "Slow down. All we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do is walk for this first one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start simple and build and set ourselves up for success," which is, a little bit akin to what you were just saying. And the other part of that, when you said community, that made me remember is this is something that was accessible to anybody. And at the other end of the extreme, from CrossFit athletes and guys that were doing it weighted and with oxygen deprivation masks on, there were a couple people who could literally barely get off their chair.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going into it going, gosh, is this the pace we're really going to go at? But by the end of, day one, as we were going into day two and we were sharing and that community was forming, the people who were starting from zero, who were struggling the most physically, became the biggest inspiration to all of us.
Yeah.
That first step or just doing what they could do was so emotional and so inspiring.
Any of my Make Fitness a Party community that's listening is like, oh boy, we get to do a big virtual workout now. I've done one of those. I've done 24-hour events before, and just being in great shape, you don't realize that how really what you're building is your mental toughness. I mean, it's more about just keeping going. The first little bit of it is going to be physical, but the rest of it is going to be mental. Just how much can you keep going? But yeah, I love those events, and I think they're so powerful. Those hard workouts that just test you mentally, they just carry over so much, not past the gym, but to your life, your relationships, everything.
Yeah, they really do. And again, I think that's where, to me, it's so interesting that a physical routine or workout can be a platform across these other domains in our lives to learn from and go apply. If you start thinking about that story that's going on in your head when you get to those last few reps, or your heart rate is spiking, or whatever it is, when it gets hard or you're fatigued after 24 hours or 48 hours, what's going on in your head? Are you telling yourself something that's empowering, or are you self-defeating? And when you start to recognize that, then you can start to think about what that looks like in maybe how you encourage a teammate, because you realize that same thing might be happening in their head. What could I say right now to boost them and boost myself at the same time? Or what does that look like in other areas of life when people are struggling with COVID or stress or family problems?
And that just translates. Yeah, it translates so well into everything. I think I started doing obstacle races. I'm a big avid obstacle racer pre-COVID myself, and I've done them for years. I think part of the reason it's fitness, it's personal training that got me into that. I mean, because when you think of any talk you've given with fitness before, if you replace the word obstacles with excuses, it's the same message. I mean, it's like when you come up to an obstacle, it's a mental thing. It's either the obstacle can overcome you or you can overcome the obstacle. But it's just the same with our excuses and everything we try to make as an excuse for fitness, to put fitness off till later, or to convince ourselves that we can't do something. Or to justify that we can't, why we can't do something. But it all comes down to that mental grit you get from doing those events. But yeah, I think I'm glad you shared that. That's a great story.
Yeah, thanks. No, I mean, it really is like a mental muscle, right? Which I suppose you can build a number of ways, but certainly failure is a part of that. Obstacles as a real physical thing, or as a metaphor for life. Most people don't. They're not expert at every obstacle right away, or every type of twist that you get in life, or every type of workout. So you got to realize there are going to be things that you're not good at, that you're gonna have to learn, and you're gonna have to keep working at.
Yeah, and I think with when it comes to fitness, that's absolutely true. I mean, I can tell you I have failed so many times and started over so many times with my fitness routine, and that's what's made me good at it, to help spread that to other people. That's one thing as a fitness professional I can't stand. Here in a few months, in January is our best chance to shine as fitness professionals, because that's when people get motivated. But what I think most personal trainers, you would hear this show later, they'll back me up that we hate New Year's resolutions, but we don't hate them because of what they're supposed to be. We hate them to what they become. We love goal setting. Anyone and then anything you do in life should always be setting goals and resetting goals and reevaluating and going back to the drawing board. I feel like that's how we grow. But with New Year's resolutions, they've made it sound like failure is not possible. Like once you fail, it's over. And just like anything else in life, when it comes to fitness, once you fail, that doesn't end your story. It's that you're going to fail several times. It's just how you respond. How are you going to get back on track? That's what makes this long term and what makes it life changing.
Is that part of I was gonna say science, maybe it's the magic behind overcoming excuses. How do you think about that?
Oh, I think it is. I think every time you over is just like an excuses and obstacles, they're intertwining again. I mean, every time you overcome an obstacle, you're better when the next obstacle comes. It's like you get stronger with every single one. It's like the same with workouts. I have a hard workouts that I'll put in once in a while on purpose, whether either just as a finisher for someone's session or just as a group workout. But it's like every time you finish it, every time you finish strong on a challenging little finisher circuit, or every time you come and you know what the workout is set up, kind of like they do in CrossFit, where they write it on the board what you're supposed to do. And so you know going into it what you're up against, but just halfway through when you don't want to finish and you don't think you'll be able to finish, just gutting it through and finishing it. Every time you do that, the next workout is that much easier. And so I think that's failure is a big part of that. Every time maybe the first time you do your workout, just getting up out of bed and going to go do it could be the hard part. But then if you string a couple of those days together, it just keeps getting easier.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've found that some things that work for me, sometimes I just have to remember to be a bit kind with myself,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of relates back to expect to fail as long as you're learning from it and trying to apply that to get better. But whatever it is, I missed a workout. That's
Yeah.
a form of failure. Well, fine. That wasn't what I wanted to do, but how am I going to show up tomorrow morning? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or I've had coaches that okay, maybe the WOD is posted,
Mm-hmm.
but in the middle of it, maybe they'll change it up and throw us something new.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with some emotional resiliency to wait a minute, I didn't expect that.
Mm-hmm.
Or you'll get something that isn't prescribed as a specific time or number of reps or something like that. Okay, now it's unknown time, unknown duration. We did with my son and a group recently. We did a weighted ruck on the beach. Show up at 7 o'clock. You're going to be done when you're done, right? So
Yeah.
it's like I don't know how heavy the sandbag is going to be. I don't know how long I got to carry it for. At some point, we had to take them out and start carrying them over our heads instead of in the backpack. When are you done? Well, you're done when they say you're done, right? So I love little ways like that to kind of spice things up, and you end up dealing with almost probably more of a mental and emotional side of a workout as the physical side.
Yeah, is getting you out of your comfort zone. I haven't done one of those rucks before, but that's definitely on my list. But I think the workout I was doing once a month right before the pandemic happened. But it was what are you made of is what I called it. So it was a workout that is just kind of a change of pace from our Saturday routine. But it's just getting people out of their comfort zone a little bit. And a lot of times I do it as a surprise, so they didn't know till they got here. But it just having to change your mindset and but just push yourself a little bit more. I think we gain so much from doing that and putting yourself in that space.
For sure. Do you have, I know you think about, you talk about mindset in your training. Do you have other tools or ways that you like to approach that with your athletes?
Yeah, I think well, my 6 week workbook I have, each week there's a different section about mindset, nutrition, and training. And so like nutrition, I talk about in the book that nutrition is the most important as far as your results go, but there's a reason mindset is the first part every week. And so just getting your mind, I feel like no matter if you don't have your mind right, then you really can't accomplish too much. And so that's the important part. But I think I'm a big believer in gratitude, and just having a good attitude. I think especially when if you start, I guess I learned this from a trainer a long time ago. So Greg Justice, he's a personal trainer here in Kansas City, but he's been a mentor of mine off and on. But he has an acronym he uses called BEDWAS, but it means begin every day with a smile. And so it's just one of those things like getting your day started on the right foot. And so it just gets you in the right mindset, gets you in the right mood, but it just kind of sets the path for the rest of the day. If you begin your day like I used to, I either begin the day with writing my list, right, or I'd end the day with thinking about all the things I didn't get done that day. I mean, it's just you're setting yourself up for failure and you're just draining yourself. And so I just focusing on. Sometimes we got to take some time and auto correct ourselves and focus on the things we accomplished and focus on the good things that we can be grateful for. And when you start focusing on those things, more come, I believe. And so it's really just like nothing good ever happened from someone that just complained all day, and that they came home and they reaped the rewards from that. But getting your mind right to where you're focusing on the positive is like a magic trick.
Focus on the positive. Yeah, 100%. A couple of things I've picked up on from other people and have been working into my routine. In addition to what you just said, I know we love to make these to-do lists, and it feels good to check them off. And if you're anything like me, sometimes you just put stuff on there because you already did it, and you can check it off and feel like you made some progress. But the more I looked at that, I mean, how many important things are we realistically going to accomplish each day? I try to now start with a very short list because there are probably only a few very high priority things. And the reality is I'm only going to get to a few of those in the chaos of the day. And then in reflection, in addition to sort of quantity, I like to try to think about quality. Not only what did I do, but how did I go about it? Did I go about it in the way that I wanted to? Was I the type of person in doing those things that I wanted to be, or are there ways to adjust the quality of execution as well?
Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm kind of trying to combine my love for sports and my love for fitness, and do more stuff with those together, just because of being a big sports fan. But I have a page, a Facebook group I just started as a sports fan fitness group, where I make a bunch of game time workouts and things like that. But I just started coming up with a new one where it's going to be lessons I learned from sports, where it just be giving me a chance as a speaker. But the one that's resonated with me today as I was running was perfect practice makes perfect. And so I remember, like in middle school, I think I learned practice makes perfect kind of from our coaches. But when I got to high school, they corrected me. I had really good coaches that just learned a lot of lessons from, but it was perfect practice makes perfect. It's like if you're lazy and you do these exercises this way, guess how when the lights come on Friday nights, guess how you're going to do them the exact same way you just did right here. So you have to go through it. But I think that just translates over everything in life. If we do everything half-ass, then that's how it's going to happen when the game starts. And so just making sure that the practice we take just as seriously as the real thing. That's a good habit to get into.
Sports fan fitness group. Is that what it was on Facebook?
Sports fan fitness league.
League. Okay, awesome. Well, what about what does your morning routine and evening routine look like? What else do you like to bake in there?
Well, actually, right now I'm doing a 75 hard. I don't know if you've heard of that before.
Yeah.
That's something that so many people I have raved about this, and I learned actually about it from another show I was on recently. But I've someone with habits. I mean, behavioral change is a big part of who I am, I think, as a trainer, and what I like to teach. And so building healthy habits and making them actual habits. So I think the owner, or the Andy Frisella, part of the reason he made it is he said because the saying that we all know is it takes 21 days to make a habit. And but he calls BS on that, and I think I do too. I think because I've realized I've done many things for that long and it hasn't stuck, and so that's why he came up with 75 days. But I have some routines that I've done long enough that they are routine. And one of them is I have a big glass of water right next to my nightstand when I go to bed, and so the first thing I do when I wake up is I grab it and I start drinking it. And so it's like it's when years ago I started that one just when I was trying to drink more water, and it's stuck and it's a habit. But there's things I do every morning, the first part of my day, and so one of them is drink a big glass of water. And another one is the thinking of an act of gratitude. So 5 things I'm grateful for before I start my day, and so it just kind of gets my day in the right foot. But I think getting yourself in routines with certain things, finding a way to stack them up so they can become habits. I think it's a really good thing to start.
Yeah, the water, just as you're saying that, you got me sipping on some tea here just to continue hydrating, because so many of us are chronically hydrated, and it's still summertime in a lot of part of the country, at least here, it's still hot. And if we're active, it's just hard to keep up with it. I don't think we do a great job, but what an amazing way to start the day with some rehydration and gratitude, maybe gratitude for the water. You can start stacking those things and building habits. What I got a sort of a selfish question, but since we talked about mindset, and certainly that mindset of gratitude in the morning is part of it. So you said mindset, nutrition, and training. Maybe on the training side, the harder I've started training. So you mentioned earlier having goals. I just signed up for a 24-hour event in March. So now I've got 5-6 months to prepare in a little bit different way for something I haven't done before. And so that's starting to be a pretty significant volume of training. And it's occurring to me, well, one is it's causing me to have to attack some weaknesses that I've been able to avoid in the past, some mobility things, some areas of strength that I've just shied away from because they weren't my thing. And it's also led me to think about recovery, sort of rest and recovery, including the sort of deep tissue and mobility thing. So where does recovery fit into the balance of the actual workout and the fitness element?
I think it's very important, but I think it's also one of those things that it takes to really master, um, to use your word from the podcast, to master recovery. I think one thing it takes is awareness, because it's something that's different from everybody. And so I've had clients before that after the workouts, they just continually get really sore legs that'll just linger for days. But I realized it wasn't that we were training them too hard. It was more that the recovery wasn't on point. And so we started just having them take a recovery protein shake after the workout, and that fixed it. And so, but for other people, it's taken a lot more than that. And so I think part of it, being aware of your diet, being aware of your sleep, being aware of stress and what you do to relieve your stress, being aware of so many different things, because it's one of those things that you have to be aware of it for several days at a time, not just aware of what you did that day, but aware of what you did the last couple of days leading up to it. So if you have one workout that felt great, it could be that you did everything right that day, but it could be that you did everything right the day before. And so it's just really being very aware of what you've been doing is kind of how you really tap into of understanding what it is to be the most recovered for you. But I think it starts with hydration, and then getting the right fuel back in your body so your body can recover after your workouts, and then getting the right sleep and things like that. So it's one of those things where you got to be really self-aware, but also paying attention to the little things. So as you start preparing for such a long event and you start getting success and getting in good shape, don't forget about all the little things that you had as habit on the way there and let them fall off. And so,
Yeah, there are definitely micro and macro things on that. I had a running coach make a suggestion to me this morning that he goes like, go to a stand-up desk, because I mean, I think we all are starting to hear how much prolonged sitting is damaging our health. And so there is the move towards spinal health and other things that come with a stand-up desk. But he goes, look, just the fact that you're going to do a 24-hour event, you're going to be on your feet for the vast majority of that. Get used to standing up for 7-8 hours a day. You're going to build more balance. You're going to build more strength. You're going to build things that are going to pay off. Those little things, in addition
yeah,
to training the major movements and major components.
I think for a 24-hour race, is this your first long race? Or you've done the virtual one with your family you just mentioned. Have you done a 24-hour workout?
The longest event I've done is a 50-kilometer obstacle course race. So that took me about 11 hours. And I've done a 12, 13-hour boot camp style event. So this is an extension of that 12-hour boot camp. It's a 25, 6-hour boot camp.
No, yeah, that's awesome. I've done World Seventh Muttered a few times, but I'll tell you, from every time I've done it, I've changed my training every time. And so the last time I did it, is when I was 40. So I just turned 42. So it was 2 years ago. But every time I've done it 3 times, every time I got 40 miles, and every time I focused on changing my training up. And so the last time I felt like I was in the best shape. I had ran a marathon, almost the 4 hours. So it was a huge improvement for me, but I didn't give myself enough recovery between when the marathon was and the race. And so then I felt like that but I realized that now I plan on doing it again when I'm 45. But I think I've learned so much. The big lesson I've learned every single time is that there's always something different that's thrown at you that makes it harder. Because I think every year there's ways I could have made it much, much farther. but when it comes down to it, it's always going to be your mental strength and how you're prepared mentally that does it. I mean, because once you're about halfway through, then it's really all mental. And so you're going to be exhausted. I mean, no matter what, I mean, hopefully you'll get your body in good shape. So so that first 12 hours, you'll do great. But no matter what, once you get to the second 12 hours, you're going to be beat up. You're going to be sore. You're going to be achy and hurting everywhere. And who knows what Mother Nature is going to throw at you when you do this. And so there's all different factors that you can't prepare for. It's just going to be curveballs when you get there, but it's going to be about your mind. It's going to be how you prepare yourself for just keeping going. That's what it's about. But that you're going to gain so much from it, though. I can't wait to hear about how it goes when you're and what you get from when you're done. Because I've gained so much from every time I put myself through that, and so that's something that I think has made me better leader with my following and with my audience, my clients also. And so, yeah, the props to you for taking it on.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for the tips. I've got a lot of work to do physically. There's no doubt about it. So I'm registered for a 24-hour, and depending on how my training goes, I may extend it out to their Pinnacle Crucible event for these guys is a 54, 55 hour. So no sleep, the full weekend type of thing. Going from 12 to 24 is, it's not linear, right? It's exponential. And then from 24 to basically more than 2 days is way more than double. So I'm gonna have to evaluate just on the physical side. But one of the cool things about the way that and so, you and I were talking off air a little bit about David Goggins and some of his teammates and guys.
The stock was just going in my head as we talked about this.
Yeah. So, that's the mental component is everybody's going to get broken down physically. Mm-hmm. They will find a way to tear everybody down. Mm-hmm. And then at some point it becomes just accepting that there are things that are out of your control and you just got to keep moving forward and doing the work. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that goes in my head and how I get through it and how I learn from it. But I do think there's an element of this one so I haven't tried like a 24-hour World's Toughest Mudder or the 24-hour Spartan Ultra. In this event I'm going to do, so we got some things like log carry that we're going to do as a team. So what they typically do is kind of break it into thirds, and the first third, as you said, they're going to get you 8-12 hours into it just physically exhausted. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be more of the individual event, and you got nobody to look to but yourself. You got teammates around, and you could humor they say is a great tool on the mental side of that thing. Mm-hmm. And then there's sort of you got to gut it through the middle of the event, and the back end of the event, the back third, when everybody is just spent, that's where it really becomes a team sport. So you're in the ocean, cold and shivering together. You're doing log PT together. You're on a long nighttime ruck, and the nighttime thing screws with your head too, together. Mm-hmm. So that's a little different than like an individual event. So I'm really excited for it in a lot of ways, both as an individual, but also to see how that plays out as a team when things really get hard.
Yeah, it's priceless, really. Whatever you paid for the event, you're gonna gain so much more for it. But yeah, I've gotten more out of it every time. But it just that being able, I'm getting closer. It's one of those things that's always easier on the outside, and then when you get there and you do it. But knowing that when you get to those tough times and your body's breaking down and your mind just really trying to play games with you, and you have to autocorrect those negative thoughts, just being able to turn that into the opportunity you have for growth. I feel like I've gained a little bit more of that strength every time I've done it. But I feel like that's why we do those things. That's why you take on a race like this. When people say like, why would you take on something so crazy? Why would you do something so insane? Why would anyone sane do that? That's why. It's because you get the growth capacity that you're going to build, and the mental toughness and that you're going to build from it. That it's huge.
It's huge. And it seems, some of these things seem impossible when you set out to do them. And if you can go achieve it, I mean, regardless of, make it the duration or not, or hit your mileage goal or whatever it is, you're going to learn something. You're going to grow in a huge way. And something that seemed virtually impossible, you look back on it and you go, okay, now that's my new floor. You
That's
know,
where I just raised the bar, right?
right, raise the bar. What's possible next?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's really cool. And then yeah, just having somebody said this recently about a Spartan race is you earn your medal in training and you show up on race day to pick it up.
Yeah.
So the real magic of this thing is the next 6 months with a bunch of teammates training, holding each other accountable, having a community, pushing each other, and getting ready for the thing. I mean, that's priceless. Even if I didn't show up for the event, 6 months of having that kind of experience training with a group is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Chad, I don't want to go too far off topic on my stuff, but I appreciate the advice on the recovery. It's a big thing on training for something like this. Where does somebody start? I mean, you got the 3 books. I know you got a couple different websites for somebody who's maybe looking to get started or raise the bar and get to that next level, maybe put some excuses aside and reprioritize around fitness. Where can people find you, get rolling, and what would you recommend?
Yeah. Oh, well, make fitness a priority. That's where you can find me. You can find me everywhere with that. Makefitnessapriority.com is my website. I have Make Fitness a Priority is Facebook and Instagram. So I have 3 books. I have a How to Win the Fight Against Your Excuses, the 6-week to stop starting over 6-week challenge, and then or 6-week workbook, and then I had the 30 tips to elevate your life. So all of them make fitness a priority. If you want to get started, the first book is really, that's what Priority Fitness was inspired and how I got the name. But it's kind of a guidebook to change your mindset from waiting till the best time to start making fitness a priority, but understanding that there's always going to be things in the way. There's always going to be excuses. There's always going to be, you're never going to run out of excuses. There's never going to be a perfect time to get started. So if you want a guidebook to help you kind of change your mindset through that, my first book is where you'd start. And so if you're listening to this and you want that, you can get it for free. You can go to beatyourexcuses.com, beatyourexcuses.com. That's a setup for everyone listening to me whenever I talk, that you can go and you can get a copy of my first book for free.
Awesome.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, good place to start the journey.
Thank you for offering that. So that's an electronic PDF copy of the book.
Yep.
People can dive right in right away.
PDF copy.
Awesome. And then do you personally, as a trainer and with your team, do you work with people only there in your brick and mortar personal training gym, or do you work with people remotely through training programs as well?
We become hybrid since that's one thing that I think all businesses that have, there was 2 types of businesses when the pandemic happened. There was a find a way and there was a find an excuse. And I'm so proud to say that our community has just grown during this time. And so we have Priority Fit Camp. So I'll make sure you have links for that too. But we have, you can join us for our boot camp actually live on Saturday mornings. And it's grown since the pandemic. We actually have people from all over the country that join us at 8:00 in the morning here. But Fraser, who's from Ireland, it's the afternoon for him. And we have people from all over the country, all over the U.S. that join us at 8:00 in the morning. And it's become a really cool thing that, being frustrated at first because I'm not technology advanced. But having to learn, it's been such a rewarding experience. But Priority Fit Camp Live is where you would find us on Meetup if you do that. But it's a free workout that we do every Saturday. Our Meetup group is free. It's one of those things where our Make Fitness a Priority, our priority message, so many things that what we're about. We just want to get in front of as many groups of people as we can and spread that message so we can get away from the desire for instant gratification and help people stop starting over and make this a long-term part of their life. And so, I mean, our only fee for our some of our products and our Meetup group or some of our workouts is just to spread the word about us and bring more people to them so we can help more people. But Priority Fit Camp Live, we have a boot camp we do every weekend that's free for our community. And then Beat Your Excuses, of course, is where you get the book.
Oh, that's super cool. Thank you for doing that. I mean, find a way or make a way. So congratulations on surviving and thriving. Really, it's so important. I know you talk about it in your book and a lot of the work you do, how mental health really is part of the physical health journey. And at times like this, when people are challenged all over the world, the fact that you've opened it up and and essentially for free. Not really for free. You got to put in the effort
Mhm.
and help, pay it forward to somebody else. But to be able to engage people virtually all over the world, and I know from personal experience that builds a connection not only between people and you and your brand, but with each other.
Mhm.
Suddenly, oh, I've got this buddy in Ireland I work out with on, through technology every weekend. So such a cool service that you're doing that. I know it's all going to come back around for you guys and what you're doing and your mission. So I really appreciate that you took the time, Chad, to stop by and share with the listeners what you guys are doing, and appreciate everything you're offering as free resources, as well as your latest book. I'll get all those links from you and get them up in the show notes for this episode. And I was just taking a peek, trying to reach out to a buddy who I know is somewhere out in your area. So maybe I can even send a local customer your way.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love that. Thank you
Awesome.
for having me on the show today. And thanks for sharing about your race. I can't wait to hear how it goes.
Yeah, I appreciate you listening. I appreciate the advice. We'll keep in touch, man. I'll reach out and I'll let you know how that goes. I'll shoot you a link to it. Take a look. Maybe if you want to get crazy and try something similar, or I'll come out your way and we'll hook up for a toughest mudder.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to copy off of the virtual every 4 hours kind of thing you did. I'll come up with something. We've been needing some more virtual events for our community here. So something's going to happen from that. And they'll
Nice.
have you to thank for it for planting the seed.
Thank me, curse me, whatever it is. I'm happy to help share that one forward as well. But thanks again, Chad. Appreciate the time, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Okay, thank you again to Chad Austin. Make sure you check out the show notes for this episode for links to Chad, his social media, his books, manofmastery.com/068. For those show notes and episode links, you'll also find a link out there to his Facebook group for the Sports Fan Fitness League. Awesome concept. So go check that out. And thank you. Thank you guys for listening, for being here, and for the support. I want to share one more quick story before we sign off for this episode, and that is the support of this community. Just recently on Veterans Day, I have been part of since 2018, a foundation, a nonprofit called Courage Foundation, which benefits vets with PTSD. And the campaign we've been running that hit a new milestone on Veterans Day 2020 started 2 years ago with a goal, a pretty big, hairy, audacious goal of doing, as a community, 22 million burpees to bring awareness to the, on average, sad and tragic statistic of 22 veterans a day committing suicide. It's tragic and it's unacceptable. So part of this campaign was to bring awareness, to put in an effort in support. And this past Veterans Day, we made a final push from something like 21,800,000 burpees, shooting for another 200,000 to bring us to the 22 million goal finally, and even blew past that to 77,000, somewhere around there. Awesome effort. And people from this community and others that are connected joined in. People joined in with support, encouragement, putting in burpees and work themselves for whatever each of us was capable of. And as well as very importantly, money. A bunch of donations rolled in as well. So thank you all for everything and anything that you did in that. And it was a big push and a great accomplishment. A mission milestone, but the mission is far from over, as that problem is far from over. So if you have further interest in getting involved or learning more about that, reach out to me as well on that topic, or you can search up Courage Foundation and Burpees for Vets directly. All right, that's it for this episode. I'll sign off, let you run, hit the show notes at manofmastery.com/068. Until next time, get out there and get after it.